Zelka, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
You had a pretty eventful day yesterday. Talk a little bit about your experience with the president.
Well, I was as one of the lead Republican elected officials in Minnesota. I got to meet him at the airport, and it was supposed to be just this 90-second deal. And we talked for a bit, and Pete Stauber, myself, and Lieutenant Governor Fishbach were there. And Stauber and him were going to go to a different meeting on mining, and he asked, "Hey, you want to ride with us?" And I said, "Of course I will." And it was, you jump into his limo there, and I'm going, "This is surreal," And so myself and Pete Stauber, running for Congress, and the governor, president, are talking about North Korea. We're talking about the border and, making sure we try to keep families together. We're talking about, things with the most powerful person in the world, and we're just chatting. And, we went to the event then that was set up for Northeast Minnesota and mining, and I said, I'm not registered to be here. And he said, "Well, you're coming in as my friend," and he just tells everybody, find him a seat. So then I sit down and I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get to the stadium, because that thing is now full? And so I thought, well, so I asked the president, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I catch a ride with you at the next event?" It's just one of those moments where, you don't know how you're going to react, but it was really a privilege to be able to really talk about some of the issues, and the president actually wanting to know, how do people think about this issue or that issue? And a number of them I won't talk about, but really a cool moment.
Well, we spoke with the Representative Nick Zerwas, who had the chance to travel to D.C. over the signing of Right to Try, and we know that his expectations were definitely. It didn't match, right? He was looking forward to meeting the president, but he expected something different, and that changed quite a bit. Can you talk a bit about that? I mean, you were kind of thrust into it, but when you met the president, did it meet your expectations, or was it a little bit like, this was different than I thought it was going to be?
Well, it certainly was beyond my expectations, because when we were in the motorcade, to the two events, that was about 30 minutes a time, where it was just the president, myself, and Pete Stauber, and we're talking about life. We're talking about what makes Minnesota better. How can he help here? What makes our country great? It was just a conversation. That included faith in God. That included is globalization the way to go? Or what about American exceptionalism? It was great that we could actually talk to him, where it wasn't just a picture and a photo where you're not really listening. We were there, and he was absolutely listening to, everything we were talking about. And so that I did not expect, because I've been at a number of functions where, everybody knows you just got to go through the line, get your picture, and move on. But this was definitely not that, and that, having that 30 minutes is you don't get that. Even if you tried to set up a meeting with the president, you'd probably get 10 or 15. So pretty cool.
In your time in politics here in Minnesota, can you compare the level of excitement that you see right now and the momentum that you see right now? Can you compare it to any other time in the past, or does this feel like a fairly unique situation, at least in your experience?
I'd have to go as far back to Reagan, but he didn't really come to Minnesota. And so Trump coming 2 years in, that stadium was packed. They packed it out, so I think it held about 9,000, but then there was a whole bunch of people outside of the Duluth Arena. And so it was, the enthusiasm was amazing. People were, there were a whole bunch of people not sure about Trump. How's he going to be able to be as president? Because that's not something he did. He wasn't in the political realm. But then watching him one by one fulfill campaign promises. Lots of people talk about what they're going to do, and then they never do it. Trump is, basically everything he talked about is what he's doing. And so there were a lot of enthusiastic, thankful people. But 2.5 years out with that kind of momentum was really something to see.
Paul Gazelka, thank you so much for the time this morning. Again, Senate Majority Leader, we appreciate it. And man, I guess I don't know if "congrats" is the right word, but that's cool. I mean,
that's a really cool story.
I'm jealous of all these people that we spent so much time talking with, having the opportunity to sit down with the president for a little while. So I feel like we've met him ourselves.
I talked to some liberal friends, and they were, how could you be with him? Frankly, if Obama asked me to ride in the motorcade with him, would somebody pass that up?
No.
I mean,
Right.
the chance to have the year of the president. I mean, it was like one of those moments where, it just felt like almost a divine moment where you just get welcomed into something and you have a chance to speak. And so, anyway, I don't care who you are. That was a moment I'll never forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Paul Gazelka. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Take care. All right, joining us now, friend of the show, Jason Lewis, Representative Jason Lewis. Good morning.
Good morning, fellas. How you doing?
We're doing fantastic. Wanted to get your impressions and your thoughts, not just on the rally, but more specifically, we haven't really had a chance to talk about the roundtable that happened before the rally yesterday that you got to be a part of.
Yeah, it was very important because we drilled down a little bit more substance on what's important to Minnesota and to keep the economy going again. It's been a great renaissance for this state and the country, with an unemployment rate of 3.8%, and all of a sudden, the energy sector, the mining sector, the manufacturing sector on full throttle in our state. All of that is to the good, and so we got to the couple of the reasons why that's occurring in the roundtable with a number of stakeholders from not only the Iron Range but from all over Minnesota, and of course, 150 people that make the economy go. In our great state. So it's a great experience. It was a great trip. And I think it shows, as Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin go, Minnesota's ready to go. Look, the Trump critics, who are truly unhinged right now, are left telling the American people and Minnesotans and folks in the 2nd District, my district, are you going to believe us or your own eyes? Because with their own eyes, they're seeing an economy that is as strong as it's been in a couple of decades. They're seeing meetings with North Korea that we haven't seen since Panmunjom and the armistice. They're seeing a lot of good things happening, and the only thing, quite frankly, the critics and the mainstream press, of course, I repeat myself, the only thing they can focus on is some abstract issue, anything to take the mind off the good news. And I think the president coming brought everybody's mind back to what's important to people in our state.
Kind of lost in all of the other news this morning and the president's visit yesterday is the fact, and we're really curious. I know you're short on time, but curious to get your quick thoughts about the Trump administration potentially proposing to merge the Labor Department with the Education Department as part of a larger effort when it comes to reorganizing the federal government. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, look, the administration, the Obama administration, by the time it was all done, passed or imposed, actually, many of them were not passed, they were executive branch edicts, 600 major rules. A major rule has significant economic impact, usually of 100 million or more. 600 of them. They passed 145 between Election Day and the time they left office. So we had this regulatory onslaught because of bureaucracy and all the things that drag down an economy. And the president's trying to streamline government. The committee I serve on is the Committee of Education, Workforce, and Labor. So if the committee can handle more things, more than two things at once, I think the executive branch can. So I think it's an interesting proposal.
Jason Lewis, Representative Jason Lewis, I know you are short on time and we are up against a break, but thank you so much for giving us a few minutes this morning and sharing your experience from yesterday.
Thank you. We'll have more time next time.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a great day.
All right, coming up next hour, we got Michelle Fischbach going to be calling in. She was up in Duluth yesterday. We'll get her thoughts on it. Americans for Prosperity, Jason Flores. We'll get off of some of the topics we have been covering. There's a number of different issues that we'll be speaking with Jason coming up at 8:30. Next, we will continue on immigration in the wake of the rally that took place last night. A little bit more on this executive order that, again, is more of a clarification. It did something really interesting to this debate. And it really took this immigration debate and thrust it into an interesting spot, which I think is going to play out in a way that's not going to benefit sort of the anti-Trump narrative right now within the next 24 hours. We'll get to it. And your phone call, 651-989-5855.
Justin.